Hey guys! We are back here today with another deck profile video, this time from a new deck from Divine Set 1, Lasaria. Now, this is, in my opinion, one of the more fun decks that they introduced in this one. It doesn't have a Divine skill, but it does have the skill to annoy your opponents to death. The general gist of this deck is that it wants to use Blitz orders to defend itself. It also has a Blitz order that allows itself to play more than one per turn, and every time you play a Blitz order, the Grade 3 will let you draw a card. So my personal nickname for this deck is also the Immortal Butterfly, because I just played it at locals this weekend, and opponents were just not able to kill me. The general gist of the ride line is the Grade 1 will let you search a Grade 2 or greater Blitz order on ride. The Grade 2 will let you check the top 5 of the deck and add a Blitz order or a Veleno unit to your hands. And the Grade 3, like I said, will let you draw cards and countercharge once anytime you use a Blitz order, but it also has a Field Anthem effect. It gives all of your Veleno units +5 as long as you have 3 of them, and it gives your Vanguard a crit as long as you have 5 of them. So in general, a really solid deck with really good defensive and offensive options. Of course, in this deck you're also gonna want to run 3 Persona rides. I don't think I need to explain why. Then of course, the newest Blitz order. So like I said, this Blitz order allows you to play another Blitz order after you've played this. So you can just keep stacking them on top of each other as well. The cost is 2 Energy Blasts, which is basically nothing right now because this deck only uses energy for its Blitz orders. And then it becomes basically a 20k shield. So this is already really helpful against some of those annoying numbers that some opponents like to throw out at you, and the Grade 3 also just lets you draw afterwards. Then our other Blitz order is Sweet Honey Garden. Perfect combination right now for the newest Blitz order, because it uses soul, and right now nothing else in the deck uses soul, so you're always going to be able to use this. Normally it becomes a 15k shield basically, but if you have another Blitz order in your drop zone, it's a 25k shield. So it's perfect to play after you've played a few of the Dreamblade ones, 20k shield, then finish off with a 25k shield, and then you still get the draw from your Vanguard as well. Then of course, the best Blitz order for this deck, because right now, also in the Shiranui meta, this is basically a free PG anyway, because you don't have to discard, but with Lasaria, it also lets you draw instead. So this is just a completely free guard, and it lets you draw. So there is absolutely no downside to it. Something to keep in mind though when you're playing this deck is the order in which you use the Blitz orders. The minute you use one of these two, you can't use Blitz orders anymore. Just keep that in mind, because it's very easy to forget that not all your Blitz orders are just free use like this one. The reason why this deck doesn't die is overcoming the unnatural death. So this is already a little bit of an older card. It's a normal order, and its effect is Counterblast and Bind itself. Search your drop zone for 2 orders, any orders, and add them back to your hand. So this is kind of what makes the deck completely unkillable in most situations, because the Lasaria player can just use 2, 3, 4 Blitz orders to defend themselves, and then immediately the next turn counterblast and return 2 of them to hand already, use more effects to add more Blitz orders to hand, and it just keeps on going. And the fact that you can just play 4 of this just means that you can do it very consistently. And also the fact that it's a counterblast doesn't matter anyway, because you countercharge anytime you use 1 Blitz order per turn. We'll go into some of the Veleno units. This is Eraphus. He is your win con alongside your Vanguards. So like I said, basically any Veleno unit gets +5, so anything with Veleno, you just have to increase the power level in your head. So this is basically an 18k in this deck. And after your Vanguard has attacked, you can counterblast 1 to restand this one. Also, if you have 3 Veleno units at that time, it'll get +5 again. Personally, I don't use this card unless I've done a Persona ride, because otherwise the numbers might be a little bit disappointing and it's not really worth it most of the time. And you can grind it out until you Persona ride anyway. So yeah, on a Persona ride, this is ideal. 28k swing, restand, 33k swing, plus the boost behind it, and potential triggers. Then we have the Revival Veleno. This one is interesting because it actually has some versatility to it. When it's placed, you can discard a card from your hand and either revive another Veleno unit or return a Blitz order to your hand. So depending on the situation, if your field is already full, you can just discard something you don't need and return a Blitz order to your hand and stack up on your defenses again. Or if you're playing against a more control deck, you can just revive your important pieces. Then we have Fiore, arguably one of the cards that gives the most consistency in this deck as well. On place, you can counterblast one, check top 5, and add a Veleno or a Blitz order to your hand. Now, why this top 5 effect is so good is because your grade 3 Vanguard has Veleno in its name, so this allows you to add Persona Rights to hand. But it also doesn't restrict you in what Blitz orders you can add to your hand. So if you find Elementaria Sanctitude on the top 5 of the deck, you can add it to your hand. This is the reason why Fiore is really, really good and definitely a 4 of. Also, she's perfect if you're going second as well, because her second effect is when you have a Lasaria Vanguard during your turn, she gets +2. So even if you're going second, you can still play this one in the front row. It'll be a 10k and enough to hit their grade 2 Vanguards. Next, we have not a Veleno unit, but still a really good card for consistency and for aggression. Hallucinatory Morpho. She is also amazing for early game like Fiore, because if you already have a Blitz order in your drop zone, you can Soulblast 1 when she attacks to give herself +10. What you usually want to do in your early turns is for your right deck, discard one of your Blitz orders. You don't really want to use them early anyway, so that this girl can already have her power up. Then at the end of the battle she attacks, you can counterblast and bind her to search a Blitz order from your deck anyway, and then later in the game you can use Overcoming the Unnatural Death to return the Blitz order that you discarded for right deck back to your hand. In other words, you have lost 0 value and the counterblast basically gets refunded very, very fast. Then, of course, 3 extra normal PGs. And for the trigger lineup in this deck, we do go 8 crits, because why the hell not? You already have a critical Vanguard. 4 heals, of course. Then I chose to run 3 fronts, because you already are pretty defensive and you have plenty of ways to find your pieces. So extra power was more preferable to getting more consistency out of a draw trigger. And then the Stoicheia over trigger. I haven't really tested with any of the other elemental over triggers, to be honest, because I like the Stoicheia one the most. So let me know if you find that one of the other OTs works better for this deck. In general, my thoughts about this deck are very simple. You're just trying to be annoying. You're not even trying to win the game. You're trying to make sure that your opponent loses steam, that they eventually run out of resources and that they deck themselves out. Honestly, in my opinion, a very fun way to play, because it just feels like you're untouchable half of the time, and your offensive strategy is just so simple and consistent that it's so easy to keep doing it every single turn. Also, for illustration on how hard it is to kill, during locals I played against a Luart deck. It was my only loss, but I still managed to withstand 4 stride turns. I mean, just tell me another deck that can do that. I'll wait in the comics. Maybe Direful Doll. Right now, this is one of the few decks that can really, really just hold down the fort and be a tank and still hit pretty fucking hard during its own turns. I would not recommend using this during a tournament though, because you will lose on time, but if that's the strategy you want to play, you can definitely guarantee double losses for you and your opponent with this deck.
AKA, Bushy, please refer to the timing rule.
I will say though, with the cards from set 2 that I've already seen, I think it's gonna be a lot more offensively potent. So I think in set 2 it'll be a little bit more tournament viable, because then you actually have a lot bigger numbers even, so you'll be defensive and threatening at the same time. Please, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and see you guys later. Bye.